Dead Channel Duo.
Wait, what? Is this a gimmick?
I'm, I'm waiting on you to carry on.
Okay, well, episode 73, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, there we go.
I'll quit the
So,
bit, but
I don't get the bit.
you need to watch AEW. It's so good. AEW is
Well,
so good.
I've watched bits of AEW, but I haven't kept
Oh
up with
my
it like I
god,
should
it
have.
is so good,
So I saw
dude.
that they just got Brooke and Matt Hardy
And Brody Lee, same episode.
and Brody Lee and Jericho dropped the belt to Moxley and
Yeah, he
like
did that pay-per-view.
yeah, they've had some really they burnt
It's
the
so
house
good.
down.
They
You
had a
know,
6-star match that pay-per-view.
yeah, Jake the Snake's back. Cody Rhodes is,
Who?
he had Cody, well, just Cody, but Cody and his brother Dustin had a great match a couple months back, and then
That's so
now
good.
there's the Jake the Snake return. So AEW is definitely off and popping. But anyway, how are you, Andy?
I'm great. I got laid off this week because of what's going on in the world.
The current events.
Yeah.
So when you say laid off, do you mean
No, they officially fired everybody so they could file for unemployment.
wow? I wanted to say legally they could like do what's technically a layoff, which is you'll eventually come back,
No,
but in the
they
meantime,
said we got an email from the CEO and says we're letting everyone know that you're officially laid off besides essential staff.
wow, and that's so they're not paying you.
I get paid. They are giving us an extra paycheck for our average time for a 4-week span
Uh-huh.
before business was affected by the virus.
Okay.
So it's gonna be like, I don't know. It's gonna be pretty. They're doing average pay in January, which is the worst month for movies.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like a extra $100, but then I have to go for the unemployment office and be like, "Hey yo, I'm broke."
That's insane. This
Yeah.
whole thing is a mess, dude. Like, I'm definitely dealing with it probably in a little bit of a different way, but my wife, she works in the medical industry, but it could affect her job even then. So it's because she's not like in an ER or whatever, right? So everybody's hurting right now, and the government's politicizing it, and it's been a pretty stressful week for me. I know even my new job, even though they just, hired a bunch of people, even then people are concerned, and rightfully so. And I think everybody's concerned right now, just pretty much top to bottom, except for the really, really rich. They probably will be able to weather the storm a little bit better than us working Joes. But
Do you think I should become a beggar on the streets?
long story short, I knew a guy. He was a friend of a friend, and when he would go on, like, he worked a regular job, he had a normal life. When he would go on vacation, put that in air quotes, he would do that for a week. He got some kind of joy out of it.
Yeah.
And he was saying he would make like 17, $18 an hour just begging on a street corner. I mean, he used to go all out. He used to make himself
Now
look
I'm
like
living
he
in a
was,
tiny house. I got to do it one step further.
Yeah,
Do van life, and then
really
e-bag.
van life.
Dude, how do you think van life's doing because of the current events?
I would say it's probably unaffected because getting into van life is expensive. Like, to
Yeah.
get the van that would allow you to do van life is expensive.
I mean, speaking of AEW, Darby Allin, he lived out of his car. Not even like he had like a souped up van or anything. He just lived out of his car for like 3 months.
Yeah, I know some people who've been there.
He was
I
like,
can't say that I have, but yeah.
I forgot why he did it, but he was like, I cook my meals in a gym, like it was a 24-hour gym. When no one's there, I'd cook my meals in there.
Yeah.
I'd live out of my van for 3 months.
It can happen. It's so many Americans are so close to bankruptcy. It's not even funny.
He did it because he's also a skateboarder, and he's like, my hospital bills were so ridiculous that it was either quit wrestling and skateboarding or do what I love and live on my car.
Yeah. I respect that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could do it, man. I mean, I've had to sleep in my car before, mainly for different reasons, but like on break at work, I just hated where I worked, so I would sleep in my car on my break.
I would do other things in my car and break.
I don't even want to know.
That aren't necessarily legal, but...
Well, there you go.
They change your mood a bit.
Change your mood a bit? Yeah, there you go. Well, anyway, moving on into the regular features. It would be nice to get a little regularity, a little normalcy around here. So this week, Andy, what have you been watching? What have you been playing?
I finished That 70s Show.
Okay.
And by finished, I got the last season. I'm like, it's time to stop. It's getting bad. Right around the time that like Seth Green shows up, I'm like, yeah.
That last season was a little rough.
The last 2 seasons, 2 to 3, were pretty bad.
You could tell, for me, when
the very last season's very bad.
When Topher Grace left, I think that's where it really started to go downhill.
To be the best
and then from
Venom
there,
ever.
it really went downhill quick.
He turned into the best Venom ever, though.
You always say that, but it's not true. Not even in the least.
Topher is Venom.
No, he's not.
And then now I'm watching my show to go to bed to now is New Girl. Rewatching that.
Oh, okay.
So you might see a theme of just a bunch of sitcoms. And then watching wise, trying to see. I watched Monos, The Virgin Suicides, Jay and Silent Bob reboot, 3:10 to Yuma, the original, From Russia with Love, Blow the Man Down, Robinhood, Prince of Thieves, Magnolia, Bert Kreischer's new special, Hey Big Boy. I watched from your favorite director of all time, Stanley Kubrick, Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched a short by Jonathan Glazer, the guy who directed Under the Skin, his short that came out last year called The Fall. Interesting way to watch that. You can only watch it in the UK, so you had to get a VPN, and then it's on BBC TV. So you have to say, oh, I have a TV license in England, which apparently is the thing. You have to have a license to watch TV.
Yeah.
I just said yes, and it let me watch it. So
that's pretty cool. You
but a very interesting short if you have a VPN. And then playing wise, I've been playing what everyone else in the entire universe has been playing this week, which is good old Animal Crossing.
Yeah, that's that's something that I've been looking forward to for a while. You guys know I've been playing Animal Crossing since the original, so that's definitely one of the items I've been playing this week. Been playing One Punch Man, World of Warcraft, no Madden. Got NBA 2K20 to play it with my brother, so looking forward to diving a little deeper into that. And then, of course, Doom Eternal. And then as far as watching this week, not a whole lot. I've watched a few episodes of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I'm starting to work my way through that one from the beginning. I don't know if I'll get all the way to the end. I've seen every episode pretty much multiple times, but I did start watching through that a bit. Family Guy, been keeping up with that. Watching some old episodes on Hulu that I just like, oh, that was a good one. I like that one. I've been kind of cruising through that. Remind me to tell you a funny
Family Guy story after this.
Okay. I've been watching a few documentaries on investigation discovery with my wife. She's been really into those lately, so I've watched a few of those.
That's my mom's favorite channel.
Yeah, she's really into it. And like her mom is the same way, and like they all say the same thing. I'm sure your mom would say the same thing, which is it gets kind of addictive. Like you You can't wait to watch the next documentary, and they're actually pretty well done, believe it or not.
She's been watching that channel nonstop. The only thing other than that she watches is Life PD and The Bachelor. But so if those aren't on, it's always the ID channel. It's been on 24/7 for the past, like, I don't know, since I was like in 6th grade.
Yeah,
Forever.
they have a lot of content, and the production value is pretty good on it too. I have to say, the ones that I've watched with my wife have been really good in terms of production quality, so I was sort of impressed. Been keeping up with Picard every week, been keeping up with Star Wars Clone Wars, watched a little bit of Star Wars Rebels with my wife. Robinhood, Prince of Thieves, and I think that's it. I can't think of anything else that I watched. But
didn't watch The Lighthouse.
Didn't watch The Lighthouse. I haven't had time to watch movies, man. I haven't had time to watch movies. Like this weekend was well, then there you go. But
if I had to guess, it'd be an hour 40.
I will say this: I go on Vudu and I buy a bunch of stuff that I end up not watching. Like I bought Biodome the other day for $4.99.
You own Lighthouse?
I own the Lighthouse, yeah. But
it's only 110 minutes.
They had It Chapter 2 on sale for $12.99.
Now that's a long movie.
In 4K, I bought that one, and then
one's like 2 hours and 40 minutes.
There was something else I purchased that was like relatively new, and I was like, how is this only Zombieland Double Tap was on sale on Vudu for $9.99, so I purchased that because I was like, well, okay, yeah, give the thumbs down, that's fine. My wife raves about how good the Zombieland movies are, so gonna check them out. Anyway, moving on.
Family Guy story.
Oh yeah, Family Guy story.
I went to Domino's.
Okay.
And so every time some restaurant or like anything asks for a name, I'm just like, my name's Joe. And I go there, and the guy's like, order for Joe Swanson, which I didn't put that last name. And he's like, here you go, Joe. And then when I was leaving, he was like, all right, don't let Peter mess with you, Joe. Have a good one.
Wow. So
I was like,
do you think
I was like, why?
Do you think he knew that Joe wasn't your real name? And by the way, I can verify that this story's true. Because
we went to Wendy's.
Yeah, we went to Wendy's, and Andy ordered, like, the way this Wendy's is situated, you order, you step to the right, you wait for your order. So, like, I can hear Andy what he's ordering, and he's like, yeah, my name's Joe. God,
yeah,
it's
Joe.
just so weird. But, hey.
Is it? I don't want people to know my name. I also hate, like, my name tag at work doesn't say Andy. Because I hate when customers are like, have a good one, Andy.
Yeah. You know, in today's social media, it's really, really easy to track someone down if you know a couple pieces, little pieces of information. Yeah. So, for example, like, if I wanted to find someone theoretically on Facebook or Instagram, and I knew their first name and the city that they lived in and or the place they worked, I could probably track them down.
Yeah, my name tag at work does say Andy, but I have a name tag over that name tag it's a Hello Kitty name tag I've had for like 2 years that one of the managers made, and that, like, no other managers question, and that one doesn't say my name on it. So yeah.
I mean,
it's also hella cute. I get hella compliments.
I don't know, dude. It's crazy. Like, I feel like social media makes us a lot less private, if that makes sense.
I don't know. We have a podcast every week.
Yeah, and you know what's really crazy about it is if you type in Google either one of our full names, our podcast comes up like first. I've tried it with both of our names.
Try it on private browser?
No, I have to try it on a private browser.
Because it might be just Google algorithm thing, you know.
It could be. I'm not sure. I just know that, like, when I started a new job, people were able to pretty easily track down.
Did people find the podcast?
I don't know about... I'm pretty sure they did. Because they found my YouTube channel pretty quick. Like, straight away. I mean, it's just like privacy is just not a thing anymore. You know, I mean, it just isn't. I guess it could be. I mean, I guess you could be like there's one guy, I'm not going to mention the guy's name because I don't want to call him out or anything, but there's one guy in particular that I follow on Twitter. He follows me. We interact quite a bit on Twitter, and I don't know that I'd be able to track down like who he really was without a lot of work. So I guess there is still some level of anonymity on the internet, but I just feel like the more you put yourself out there, especially as a content creator or even as just like a social media influencer, if you even like an aspiring influencer on Instagram, the minute you get over a couple hundred followers on any social media platform, it becomes instantly much more easier, and then it becomes exponentially easier to track you down, figure out who you are, where you live, what you did. All your tweets are forever on the internet.
There was one time I was streaming with Bengal, and you know, Bengal's not very open about his name. I mean, we know it because we're friends with him, and theoretically, it's not that hard to find it. It's not like he's been like hiding it. It's just like no one calls him by his name.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And there was one time we were Twitch streaming before he even like let people know what state he was in, or like his name. Some guy went in a chat with his dad's name. Like his Twitch username was Bengal's dad's full name.
I believe it. I mean, I had someone come in one of my streams at one point, and they were like, "Where are you from? Like exactly. What's your address? Like, I'm going to come find you." And I was like, I was playing with him. And then he guessed where he thought I was from, and he was pretty close. Like, he was really close. Like, I actually looked up the address, and I was like, ooh, that's like a hop, skip, and a jump away. It's weird, man. Like, the internet's kind of taken away our privacy more than anything else.
You know what's a hop, skip, and a jump away?
What's that?
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And they signed Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Alexander. Big Bucks fan. How do you feel?
Yeah, this is a question from Spoon Sandwich on Twitter. I know multiple people reached out to me about this, so I didn't really want to talk about it too much until it was official because I realized things can change. And I thought and nothing against Tom Brady, like I have nothing against the guy personally, and I'm not questioning his character at all. But, you know, when you've worked somewhere, when you've been with an organization, as long as he's been with the Patriots, like you do kind of wonder if he would get cold feet at the very end and maybe go back to New England, who I think would have taken him back with open arms. So until the ink was on the paper, so to speak, didn't really want to comment on it. But overall, I think it's a really good move. So I know they had to give up a lot to get him. Obviously, they had to pay him. That's number one. But when we look at the pay structure, it's not that much more than what they would have had to pay Jameis Winston. And in addition to that, I know that one of the big things that was out there was he wanted input on offensive play calling and some personnel decisions. And I'm not really opposed to the first one at all. The second one I think could be dangerous, but I don't think that they're making him GM. I just think he wants some sort of a voice when it comes to personnel.
It's Tom Brady.
Yeah. And if you're
it's
Tampa,
like LeBron in basketball.
If you're Tampa, you kind of have to, if you're going to attract a Tom Brady, you kind of have to give those things up pretty willingly. I think it was a good move. I like Tampa Bay's offseason thus far. They went out, they got a good offensive tackle, they got Tom Brady, they franchise tagged Shaq Barrett. I think they're going to work out a long-term deal with him, as they should.
Hopefully.
If they can't, they do have him for another year. I think Shaq Barrett he just had an amazing year. Like, I think he should have gotten a way more defensive player of the year consideration. That's just my opinion. But overall, I think that this makes Tampa a really interesting playoff team. Like, somebody asked me, do you think this is a Super Bowl team? Do you think they are a contender? I don't know. I think we all want to see this on the field, see how it works out. Now, if, like, you know, me as an amateur, like, I would say, well, we're basically taking the same offense and we're plugging Tom Brady in where Jameis Winston was.
On paper.
Again, this is on paper. To me, that would equate to a better team that probably wins about 10 or 11 games, goes to the playoffs, and could make a run. I don't know if I want to put them up there with the best team that I think right now. I think the best team in the NFC is the San Francisco 49ers. But I will say, the Buccaneers came pretty close to beating the 49ers. And I think if they had Tom Brady in that game instead of Jameis Winston, even though it was week 1, I think they would have won. So,
yeah,
there's a lot
Bucs
to like about this
dominant
deal.
Defense.
The Bucs defense made huge strides this year, and I kind of wonder if in the draft that they can pick up 1 or 2 more guys who could contribute on some level to that defense. Yeah. I think they could be, again, this year, another top 10 defense.
The Bucs defense last year was like Jacob deGrom of baseball. No offensive support, but was pretty shut down.
They did really well. I was kind of leery about the 3-4-4-3 hybrid scheme that the new defensive coordinator, whose name escapes me at the moment, and I feel terrible. He used to be the New York Jets football coach.
I can't Google it because I can't see anything because I'm blind right now.
Yeah, it's God, who was it? He used to be the coach of the
Jets.
Yeah. And I feel terrible for forgetting his name at the moment. Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles did an amazing job with that defense. I thought the loss of Quan Alexander was going to be a huge problem, but they drafted a replacement, and that worked out significantly better than I think anybody could have imagined. Todd Bowles did a great job this year. I think he will continue to do so. Same thing with Bruce Arians. I think they're a 10 or 11 win team. I think they go to the playoffs, and they're going to be interesting to watch. I'm not ready to put the contender tag on them until I actually see it in progress. But they could win that division. They could win the NFC South. Carolina looks pretty rubbish. Falcons look pretty rubbish.
I'd say the same percentage chance of them being contenders, the same percentage chance of them crashing and burning.
I think that's true of any team, and I would agree with you. I think that my biggest concern through all of this is the Buccaneers O-line was not very good last year in pass protection. Will they get better?
Yeah.
For Tom Brady. Now, Tom Brady gets the ball out of the pocket a lot faster, but Bruce Arians' offense is a pretty vertical offense, which requires a little bit more pass protection. That was a struggle all year last year. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. But I mean, I'll be honest, as a Bucs fan, I don't think I could be any happier with the prospect of you lose Jameis Winston and you get Tom Brady. I mean, I know it's a short-term deal, but you could go out and get a young quarterback, sit him on the bench for a few years, and get him ready.
Then trade him to the 49ers. And
and Tom Brady will be out there like at 49, like, I'm still in the game, guys. I don't know. Oh, by the way, totally forgot. Andy added a note here about Jason Pierre-Paul being re-signed. I think that's a great move. They got him at a great amount of money, and he was one of their best pass rushers last year. Very underrated player for the Bucs the entire time he's been there. And kudos to him for coming back from that neck injury from that car accident.
Yeah, I just added all the Bucs signings that the other day.
Don't sleep on JPP. He's still really good for his age, and he gives a lot of production for the amount of money that
he's a hoop to have on July 4th.
Well, now that's just inappropriate.
Hey, I'm just saying, you're going to have a great time if you're partying with JPP on Independence Day.
Gruesome injury. I don't know if you've ever seen the picture. I'm sure you've seen the pictures.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I wish, man, of admit JPP, nothing gets better. Man, I wish they had that in Madden when he had the of admit.
I mean, it's like I feel like he's a very unlucky guy. You know, he had the fireworks incident, and then he had the
Unlucky is
car.
a choice
Yeah,
word.
fair enough. And then he had the car accident where he fractured his neck. I mean, it just,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
I
Maybe
mean,
there's more to it.
as much as I say about that, I've had to deal with Alden Smith, the brightest guy to ever hit the football field.
Yeah. See, JPP to me was always kind of a low risk, high reward type guy for the Bucks. Like when he was with
got him after the hand injury.
when he was with the Giants, like I understand the Giants were like, "Oh, dude, come on, man. Like you injured yourself with firecrackers. We're paying you all this money." But when he came to Tampa Bay, he was coming there on a significantly restructured deal, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't really give up much, if anything, to get him, and even now, like, I know last season they restructured his deal a little bit, and obviously they just re-signed him for a very fair amount of money for the production that he brings. So I don't know. I can't be mad at him, but I know a lot of Giants fans who are. So moving on to DCD Film Club, we have Robinhood, Prince of Thieves, from, I believe, 1991?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Andy doesn't know.
91.
Usually he
Yeah,
knows.
I do know, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so...
I can't Google anything. Normally, normally I can clickety clack and find things out, but I'm blind today.
Clickety clack. Okay, well, yeah, this was our
PKA
pick.
reference.
This was our pick from our Patreon backers, and it came from Jared, aka Spoon Sandwich, on Twitter, who sent in the listener question. And I haven't watched this one probably since like right after it came out, and I don't really remember much about it. So, going back and watching this, it was kind of like watching it for the first time. Andy, have you seen this before? Or?
Yeah, about right when it came out.
That wouldn't make any sense at all.
No, I haven't seen it.
Unless you were watching it as a sperm. Like, that's the only way that would have happened. So, sperm don't even have eyes, as far as I know. Wait, are those notes?
They are.
Okay, Andy, I'll let you lead off.
So, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, directed by Kevin Reynolds, guy who directed the greatest movie ever made, Waterworld, the greatest theme park ride adaptation movie ever. So, the movie. I have some weird notes about the movie. First thing I should mention is the accents, or lack thereof. Kevin Costner doesn't even attempt an accent that bothers me.
No, not at all.
Like, not at all. Morgan Freeman's accent, he barely attempts one, and it's very flaky. There'll be scenes where he just like completely forgets. It's like Kofi Kingston in WWE reference. He just forgets to use the accent at some points. And then there's like some side characters that actually attempt accent.
Yeah.
The cousin of the antagonist, his voice is awful. You couldn't understand what he's saying half the time. But like, that's my main criticism, because like, it's supposed to be in England. Everyone knows Robin Hood. Literally everyone knows Robin Hood. You can't get past that. I feel like most people would notice that there wasn't accents. Second point, it was shot on digital. Not to say it's a bad thing. People get arguments, digital, whatever. But it was shot in digital in the early 90s. It makes it look extremely dated compared to other 90s works. To like compare it to like other DCD pick, a movie that came out a year before this, Goodfellas, shot on a film. Goodfellas still looks great. This movie looks very bad because it was shot in digital. Very aged. I want to say bad. I don't know. You know what I'm saying. There was very awful attempts at comedy. A great point that Alex liked to bring up for Killing Sacred Deer. Like they just like try to be funny at some points, and it just wasn't at all. It crashed and burned. And then one thing I also noticed is why there's the blind character in the movie. Spoiler alert. The blind character, whenever he rides to Robinhood to tell him about the lady being captured, why does he die whenever he arrives there? He never gets wounded. Like he never was a part of the conflict beforehand. He just dies. No reason. Very stupid. There's the stereotypical like, oh, I have a brother, and he, like, just for no reason, I have a brother out of nowhere, middle of his story, which I guess is like a '90s thing. I don't remember if that was a thing in the original Robin Hood. I wanted to rewatch it, but never got around to it. The not the original, but the Disney one from the '70s. Originals from the '30s.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember that being part of it, but I could be wrong.
Which I'll go back to that point later. When the kid and the men are getting hung at the ending and like the climax, they were getting choked, but that style of hanging, it breaks your neck and you pretty much die on impact. So that's kind of like that's wrong. Which that bothered me. I don't know if that bothered most people. One of the main things I hate is that in the beginning of the movie, whenever Robin Hood first gets introduced to the girl, she's fighting him and she's, acting like a warrior. But then the ending scene, the climax, she just acts like a giant and doesn't do anything during the fight. Bleep that. She just acts like she can't fight. She's like acting all weird, even though earlier they've already established in the movie that she can fight. Very stupid. It seems they forgot Morgan Freeman's point of the character about having to save his life until they like completely forgot about it, shot the ending. I was like, oh wait, we had to put this in, so they threw in the part at the very end where that lady pops out of nowhere. And then the very last scene, they break the fourth wall for no reason. The very ending of the movie, they break the fourth wall. This movie is very long and boring, and compare it to the Aladdin remake and Lion King remake. It's an unnecessary remake that shouldn't have happened to a pretty much perfect animated movie that was made before. This movie's pretty bad.
Okay, so I guess my thing about this is I didn't know that it was related in any way to the animated movie.
I don't think it is. It's just Robin Hood.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure
it's related
that
in the fact that it's the same source material.
Okay, because now I'm looking it up and I'm seeing that it was Warner Brothers who made this.
It's just the same source material.
Okay, I was worried that you were going to say that it was like.
I mean, like the Aladdin and Lion King one are made by the same company. I'm just saying that it's an unnecessary. I mean, technically, it is a remake, not of the animated one, but technically, if the animated one's a remake, if we're talking, the first Robin Hood movie is from the 30s, 1938, I believe, which that one's based off of old legends and folklore, because the Robin Hood character itself, like the books and stuff, has been like centuries,
All right. Okay.
But I'm just saying, like, it's when you have a pretty perfect movie like the animated Robin Hood movie.
Yeah.
So,
I suppose I'm not even going to say that I agree with all of that. So, but my biggest thing is like I don't really view this as remake per se, although I totally see how you could maybe perceive
I'm very
it as
loosely
one.
using that word.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a...
And I think that you're properly saying that it's loosely used.
Like how... Like The Wizard of Oz, same way, based on an old book.
Mm-hmm.
There has been attempts to remake The Wizard of Oz. But like everyone's like, it's stupid, why do that? It's The Wizard of Oz, this perfect magical movie.
Yeah, it's probably better to just kind of leave it alone. I mean, because like, who's gonna do it better? Really? I mean, it's
You're not
really
gonna top
tough.
Wizard of Oz. You're not gonna top the 1973 Robin Hood movie. Like, there's just something so life. Obviously, it's animated, but there's so much like life put into it, so much care.
No, you're right. So I've always told people that when they ask, "What's your favorite hand-drawn animated," or you know what, I'll even go further, like, what's your favorite animated Disney movie period, I always tell them Robin Hood, because when I was a kid, that the hand-drawn animated Robin Hood movie was definitely my favorite. I think that I'm gonna go into this a little bit biased because I love the Robin Hood story. I love the premise behind it. I like the moral behind it. And I think that it's a source material that could it's so hard to screw it up because it's just such a great character. And there's so many strong characters in that, I'm just going to call it a universe, right? Or world, if you will. Because the Friar Tuck character is a lovable character. Sheriff Nottingham is always, a character that is so easy to not like. There's just so many good things in it. It's really hard to make an adaptation that doesn't land. But go ahead.
Was the king more of a character in the 70s, the animated one?
I felt like he remember.
He was an actual main character in the animated one. I don't remember it. I have to rewatch it, but I remember the king, the cat, or whatever. But in this movie, they completely abandoned the king's character.
Yeah, the way I seem to remember the animated one, and it's been a while since I've watched it, but I seem to remember the king being more active in terms of he holds a competition where the winner, gets a prize, and sheriff tries to, rig it or whatever. But like when it comes to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, it's been a while since I watched this one. I might as well have been watching it for the first time. I remember liking it as a kid, probably mostly because of the Robin Hood angle. And when I watched it this time around, I still liked it. I thought it was good for what it set out to be. I'm not saying that this is the best adaptation of the Robin Hood character. Probably far from it. But it does a lot of things really well. And I think that there's some casting choices here that are a little bit outside the box that end up really working out. So you guys know I'm a big Kevin Costner fan, and I like just about anything he's in. And
Waterworld.
Yeah, well, I haven't watched Waterworld in a long time, but
it's the best movie ever made.
He's made some other good stuff. We covered Bull Durham. I've talked about For Love of the Game on this. Even in Man of Steel, I really thought Kevin Costner did a terrific job. I think he's a good actor. At this time, he was red hot in Hollywood. You would have had to have been alive at the time to really understand what I mean. But he was pretty much the lead male actor at this point in time in Hollywood. Everything he touched was practically gold.
The Academy Award-winning Best Picture movie the year before this.
And
Dances with Wolves.
Yeah, and like the only other person I could compare it to, and he was probably the next big guy in Hollywood who seemed to be untouchable for the longest time, is John Travolta. After he did Pulp Fiction, John Travolta exploded. He was in everything. And Kevin Costner was at this point in his career when he did Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And Morgan Freeman was also a very hot entity. And then you throw in, they have Christian Slater, they have Alan Rickman in here, and they all have
Christian Slater popular by then?
He was still kind of getting there. That's how I remember it. I mean, he was still he was known. He was a household name, but he wasn't quite at his peak. But like overall, I mean, I like it. You know, I think Kevin Costner kind of nails the bodacious, rambunctious nature that is Robin Hood. He's kind of throw all care to the wind. And, I do kind of what I want to do. And he's leading a group of rebels. And Morgan Freeman's character is interesting. Although I think they could have written that character a little bit better. Alan Rickman as the sheriff of Nottingham is excellent. He's the perfect villain. He does a great job of making himself unlikable. And I think... He
just plays Snape, though.
It's not Snape. It's not. It's good. It's good.
Or I guess technically Snape plays the sheriff.
I can't come into this and say that the acting was done poorly. The one thing I will totally agree with you on is the cinematography does look dated by today's standards. And, I kind of wonder, I think we'll all kind of wonder, if it was shot on film, would it have looked better over the course of time? I don't know. I'm not really sure.
Definitely would look better.
Well, then there you go. I mean, it does look a little bit dated. But this whole movie feels dated. I mean, you see Kevin Costner in a lead role, it feels a little bit dated. You see Morgan Freeman in a secondary role, that feels a little bit dated. And then let's not even forget the film's theme song. The song that plays when the credits hit is Bryan Adams. Everything I do it for you. I mean, when I saw that at the credits, I totally forgot that was the theme song of the movie. But they reference it in lines of the movie. Talking about, oh, would you die for her? That kind of thing. So, it's loosely, bringing lines from the song. And then the credits hit and that song hit. And I'm like, this is the most 90s thing ever. It really is. It feels like something from a time capsule. But I love it regardless. I still think on its face, for what it set out to do, it set out to be an entertaining action movie that had Kevin Costner, Morgan Freeman, and Alan Rickman in it, and with some good acting. And I really like some of the by the way, I really like the arrow shots. Every once in a while they would do a shot where the camera followed where the arrow was going. I love those shots. Those were really cool.
There's a part where there's an explosion behind him while he's shooting a fire arrow.
Yeah.
The editing in that scene sucked. They showed it for 2 milliseconds, they cut away.
Yeah, it was a little.
That's supposed to be the shot that everyone's that's supposed to be to reference David Lynch, The Eye of the Duck. That one scene that stands out amongst the rest of the movie.
I know.
And then they ruin it editing it.
But there's some good stuff here. I mean, I think there's more to like about this than there is to not like, and it definitely took me back. It's what I would call a blast from the past. It really truly is a blast from the past. It's not great. It's never going to be in the Library of Congress or whatever the hell it is. But
Library of Congress? The National Film Registry?
That's the thing. Okay, there you go. I mean, and I know some people, it actually says right here, Kevin Costner won the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Actor in this film. I kind of liked him as Robin Hood, but I'm a child of the 90s.
He didn't even attempt a fucking accent.
He didn't attempt an accent. I mean, these are all, so here's the thing. You could watch this and poke plot holes all day, and you would be right to do so because there's a lot of plot holes. But if you just kind of want to throw this on and it's a movie for guys who like movies, we talk about this all the time on the podcast, that's what this is. It's a movie for guys who like movies. It's an action movie with Kevin Costner, Morgan Freeman, Alan Rickman, Christian Slater, and you'll have a good time watching it, and it feels very 90s, so you'll get a little bit nostalgic. And it's got more good than bad. That's it. That's all I can say about it. Love the soundtrack though. That Bryan Adams song, it's still a jam. Still a jam. I'm not even saying that ironically.
Didn't stand out to me.
Whatever. Nothing. You don't like anything anyway.
You're
gonna give this a 2. You're gonna just absolutely pan it like you pan everything else that isn't made by yogurt.
If this movie was so great, why do they make another one 2 years from now? 2 years after that, directed by Mel Brooks.
Oh, I don't even
Robin
know.
Hood Men in Tights.
That was a parody film.
Is it a parody of the 1991 one?
It's a parody in general. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's Mel Brooks. But I'm saying, yeah, it's Mel Brooks.
I mean, I
Obviously.
guess it was probably a parody in some ways to the 1991 film, but it was a parody. Come on, Andy. That's like saying,
obviously it's Mel Brooks.
Star Wars stinks because they made Spaceballs. Like, no.
I didn't say that.
No, but it's a similar. I mean, it's analogies that I'm using here. Whatever. You're gonna pan it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, 2 out of 10. You're
2
right.
out of 10. Called.
That's what I put on Letterboxd. So.
Okay. Well, I liked it.
I did give it a 3 out of 10, and then I was like, man, it's just so boring.
It is long.
I made it a 2 out of 10.
It is long.
There is an extended version of this. How is there an extra 20 minutes of this movie?
No lie. I didn't realize it until I finished it. I watched the extended version.
How? Not watching Netflix?
No.
Did you buy it?
Yar.
Oh, why'd you pirate it if it's on Netflix? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, Alex.
Because what would Robinhood do?
Cancel your Netflix subscription?
No, Robinhood would pirate it. So I wanted to live up to the spirit of the movie.
Sure.
I wanted to pirate it.
All right, Alex.
I took from the rich of Netflix and I gave to the poor, soon to be me. So, yeah.
You still pay for Netflix. It's not like you like. Okay.
I don't pay. Actually, Andy, I don't pay for Netflix.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't pay. I pay for Hulu. I pay for Disney Plus.
I use.
I got the Hulu
the only
Disney
thing I pay
Plus
for
bundle
is
thing.
Criterion Channel.
Yeah, so like right now, I'm paying for CBS All Access. I'm not paying for Netflix. I have Amazon Prime, but I mostly bought that for the shipping. And then, like I said, I have the Hulu bundle, CBS All Access, Amazon, and
ESPN
WWE
Plus.
Network. That's about it.
ESPN Plus.
Well, that comes with the whole Hulu Disney Plus bundle. And by the way, ESPN Plus. See, my wife loves Disney Plus, right? She watches that all the time, and I like every once in a while I'll watch something here or there on it. But
You know what you have that you're not paying for?
What?
NFL, whatever their thing's called. The NFL streaming service.
Oh, I don't have that.
The NBA ones, they're free until April 22nd because of current events.
Well, there you go.
You can go watch classic games.
I actually might do that. But anyway, like, yeah, I figured I would watch the extended cut, and I did. So like I said, I think there's more good than bad in this one. You guys know that I set 5 as something that's absolutely middle of the road. I think this is just above that. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10. I'd recommend checking it out if you want to take a look at what 90s action films were like in the 90s. And also get a really cool... Oh, Spinks probably gave it like a 3 or something.
You're on the ball today. 2 out of 2. You got it.
I like Spinks, but I knew it.
Correct.
He's not going to like it. He's not going to like it. I realize I'm biased. Number 1, I love the Robin Hood character. Number 2, I'm a child of the 90s.
A Zoomers. We don't like your
old
90s movies.
No, I'm just saying, like, you're never... Okay, it's impossible for you to feel nostalgic about something that's from 1991. You're not gonna reminisce about something from 1991 because you weren't there when it happened.
Nostalgia's the best drug.
I guess you're right. I mean, I think it's a 5.5 out of 10, and I'd recommend checking it out. It's a weird time capsule. That's the thing that I really like about it, is it feels very 90s. It feels so like it's like something like Bill and Ted, right? Where I know it's a totally different genre of movie, and that's why I don't think they should bring back Bill and Ted, because I don't think it'll work now. It's like Bill and Ted or Pauly Shore movies. I'm surprised that landed, if it did. But
Chris Jericho plays a KKK member in that movie. By the way.
there you go. And then that's worth watching it alone, just because that sounds like he'd probably make it funny somehow. Because that's
it's on
Jericho.
Prime.
Oh, well, then there you go. I'll have to check that out then. I didn't even know it was out yet. So there you go. I don't really keep up with Kevin Smith because his fans annoy me. I like Kevin Smith. I don't like Kevin Smith's fans. Because I noticed that all of Kevin Smith's fans want to be Kevin Smith, so they act like Kevin Smith. So they just kind of parrot whatever he says.
So they all wear jorts and wear hockey jerseys?
I swear to God, dude, if I have to hear one more person tell me that they should do a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton as Old Man Batman, right? And they keep parroting that stupid thing that Kevin Smith said one time on a podcast that wasn't even his original idea, and he didn't take claim that it was his original idea. But now everybody's like, Kevin Smith had this amazing idea for a Batman Beyond movie. I want that. Like, I'm so sick of hearing it. And I've noticed a lot of Kevin Smith fans, they all look very similar. It's weird. It's like he's starting a little army of little Kevin Smithites.
What's his name? In the movie, Kevin Smith is a character.
Yeah.
And bleep that. That was a slip.
Oh, jeez. That's 2 bleeps in one episode, man. Come on, dude.
They keep on calling him, what's his name? In the whole movie, they keep on calling him Kevin James. And they're like, come on. And they keep on they keep on taking jabs at Kevin James. Like, I hate that guy, that mall cop, or like stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like Kevin Smith. I think he's, 1, I think he's brilliant. 2, I think he's hilarious. And I think that
a future film club pick, because me and you both... we talked about it on stream before. I would assume eventually it'd be a DCD pick, but Clerks.
Yeah, Clerks is just an absolute classic, and he's done so many other really great things, like, you know, over the years, like Red State is still one of my favorite movies that kind of developed a cult following, and I'd highly recommend checking it out. But, like, his fans, they just annoy me with how they parrot him so much, like... It's just crazy. And by the way, not all Kevin Smith fans are like that, because I guess you could say I'm a Kevin Smith fan, and I don't parrot him, but I mean, a lot of them
Kevin
do.
Smith fans align with another group of fans that we love.
MCU?
And the other one.
Oh. Yeah,
both of them. Just superheroes in general.
No, I mean, that part of that comes with him having that comic book shop and like doing the Fat Man on Batman podcast, which is, I believe that's what it's called. It's whatever it is. It's a phenomenal podcast. I've listened to a few episodes. It's great, but yeah, his fans just kind of annoy me. But you know, I mean, I'm part of the Rick and Morty fan base, and Rick and Morty fans annoy the hell out of me. So there you go. So we're kind of coming up on time here, but we have a whole list of NFL free agency questions.
I have a pick.
Oh, that's right. Andy has his pick. Let's hear. What is it? Going to be something from your favorite director, Yogurt?
Yeah. The favorite. From Yorgos Lanthimos. I'm kidding. I saw you like slowly like.
I'm just buying Dick Figures the movie on Voodoo right now.
Sure. So my pick is it's something that the modern what's going on in real life reminded me of, in that it isn't the movie that's been super popular recently because of the current events, which is Contagion, very movie from 2011 directed by Steven Soderbergh. That's been very popular this week because of the current events. But this is what reminded me of current events. This movie did. I guess other way. Current events reminded me of this movie. The movie directed by Trey Edward Schultz from 2017. It is a movie that I don't know if you do or any of the fans do not whatsoever look up the trailer for the movie beforehand. Okay. And I'll explain to that in the next episode. But this movie is called It Comes at Night from 2017. It is on Netflix and it's also on Canopy.
Okay, well, I guess I'll have to get on Netflix to watch that one.
Yeah.
So I
Great
don't
movie.
incidentally watch the extended cut because I don't want to have to do that again. No offense to Robinhood,
Yeah.
Prince of Thieves, but
Sure.
if I could have saved 20
But-
minutes last night, I would have.
Yeah, Tradeward Schultz, great up and comer. He directed Waves, which I gave to you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
And yeah,
that sounds
And-
pretty good then.
to explain the trailer a bit without spoiling it, the trailer, whoever edited the trailer just didn't understand what the movie was. So if you watch the trailer, you think the movie is something else than what the actual movie is.
Oh,
And that, so if you Google the Rotten Tomatoes scores, the critic score is like an 87%,
Mhm.
and the audience score is a 44%.
Ooh, so
Because
that means...
people went into it expecting the trailer, but the movie's great. I love the movie.
yeah,
But if you went into it expecting what the trailer makes you expect, which a different crowd of people would want to go see than the actual movie, we'll talk about that. I would recommend watching the trailer after watching the movie.
yeah. I
Actually,
think that's what I'll
Watch
probably
the
do.
movie. Watch the movie. Sit on it a bit. It'll give you a couple hours of break. Let it settle with you,
Yeah.
and then watch the trailer.
See, I feel like Under the Skin was the same way. I feel like that was the film where I ended up watching somehow, some way. I watched the trailer after watching the movie,
Yeah.
and I was like, that isn't at all a very good representation of what Under the Skin was. And I remember thinking, like, if I had seen that trailer beforehand, I would have been like, I don't want to see that. Because, like, when I was a kid, that's how you kind of decided what movies you wanted to see. There was no real internet, like, hey, everybody's on the internet talking about this film. So when you went to the movie theaters, the previews were sort of a highlight in their own.
Or Siskel and Ebert.
Siskel and Ebert were definitely a good resource, but you had to tune in on Saturday mornings to watch them or read their newspaper column, and I believe the Chicago Sun. But
Tribune.
okay, there you go, Tribune. So overall, like, as a moviegoer, you would usually try to get there before the previews, whereas now I try to get there after the previews if I can.
Yeah.
And still get a good seat because, I could just watch trailers on my own, but
I prefer not to. This is one of the main reasons.
no, you're right. I mean, sometimes a trailer can be really deceptive one way or the other. So it's like sometimes you watch something and you're like, man, that trailer was awesome. And then you watch the movie and you're like, they put all the best bits in the trailer and there wasn't
You'll get
really
what I
much
mean after
to
you watch
it.
the trailer.
Yeah.
The trailer makes it seem like a different type of movie than what it actually is. Like, imagine, this is going to be completely out there. I'm trying to not say much about the movie. Imagine you watch a trailer and you're like, it's a comedy movie. But then you go watch the movie and it's a drama.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be a
That's
little
kind of how
jarring.
this, not exactly, but that's kind of how this is.
Yeah. Well, cool. I look forward to it. Real quick, we have a couple NFL topics. We have a whole list of them here. I'm gonna pick one.
Yeah, I just have them as potential topics.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick one, and then I'll let Andy pick whatever one he's most interested in discussing. I wanted to ask Andy's opinion, not on the most interesting trade that happened this week, the DeAndre Hopkins trade, which we can all agree was DeAndre Hopkins got traded for a ham sandwich because his coach didn't like him anymore. I'll let Andy talk about it if he wants to, but I wanted to ask Andy his thoughts on the Stephon Diggs trade to the Buffalo Bills for 4 picks, including a first-round pick, which I believe was a 22nd overall. So, who do you think won the trade between the Bills and the Vikings on the Stephon Diggs trade?
They both did. If I had to pick a winner, I'd probably go with the Vikings. But Stephon Diggs clearly, openly disliked Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And is very frustrated. And there was points in the seasons where Stephon Diggs just disappeared in the playbook, and he was just not getting passes thrown his way.
Yeah.
And he's a top 20. I'm off the top of my head, top 20 wide receiver in the league. He's the number one guy. He was in a situation where there's two guys that there wasn't a number one wide receiver in Minnesota the past couple of seasons. They like Adam Thielen and him. Like if you had to give it to somebody, Adam Thielen is the one. But they kind of shared the role. So there's points where Stephon Diggs would like just disappear. He finds a role in Buffalo where I'm sure I wouldn't say flourish. He fits Josh Allen. Josh Allen has a big arm, despite if you look at statistics that his big arm isn't really that good when he's throwing down the field. But Stephon Diggs, great extending the field, great deep route runner, and it fits Josh Allen. They gave up a lot versus the DeAndre Hopkins trade. They gave up a bunch of picks, which the Vikings actually got compensated for giving up such a premier piece. So I think both teams won. If I had to give a team the edge, I would give it to Buffalo, or I'd give it to Minnesota for the picks, because it'll just be interesting how Stephon Diggs works. I don't really think the Buffalo offense is something that's going to be like super drastic changing, adding a premier wide receiver. Like, I don't know how to explain that.
No, I get what you're saying.
It's a run first team.
I do think that it's something that it may or may not play out like the Bills envisioned, but, and I agree with you. I think it's like both teams won this trade. I think it's really close. It's about as close to an even trade as you can get. But if I had to pick a winner, I would actually go the other way, which is the Bills, because I don't know that the Vikings will immediately get anybody back with those 4 picks that will equal what Stephon Diggs brings to their team each Sunday. But I could be wrong on that. But I know that Stephon Diggs is a proven quantity, and I think that he will be good for Josh Allen. It could be completely wrong. It could crash and burn. And then that could actually end up being a worse situation because while Josh Allen does like to go downfield, he can be pretty inaccurate at times. So it could
statistically speaking, he's not great throwing down. He has the huge arm, but he's not accurate.
He's not terrifically accurate. Yeah. So, I mean, I just thought that was just the most interesting transaction this week in the NFL. I wanted to get your take on it. So, before we adjourn, Andy, anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I mean, DeForest Buckner got traded.
How did you feel about that as a 49er fan?
Had to be done.
Had to be done.
It's sad. He's never been injured. Most reliable guy in the field.
He's very reliable, and he's a good force. Like, you know what you're getting
outside
from
of Aaron Donald, best defensive tackle in the league.
I would agree there.
But it had to be done. People got mad about it. It's just we were strapped for cash. And Alex, if I put you in the scenario, what would you rather have? The 13th overall pick and Eric Armstead or DeForest Buckner?
I mean, that's really what it came down to, and you're going to take the latter. You're going to take the former. You're going to take the first one. You're going to take Armstead and the pick.
And which, it's not like our D-line's screwed. We have DJ Jones, was great last year. If he stays healthy, which is a problem.
And I love Buckner. I mean, Buckner reminds me. He reminds me a lot of a younger Gerald McCoy. Where did he put up massive stats or rack up sacks? No, but dude was completely disruptive in the middle every single snap. You had to watch for him. And he made those guys outside of him better. So,
I mean, it's
a loss, but to get the 13th pick.
Yeah, and also if you want to look in the grand scheme of things, the 49ers turned the 7th overall pick into a elite defensive tackle for 5 years where they paid him nothing. Mm-hmm. And then turned that to the 13th overall pick.
Yeah.
So looking like the grand scheme of football, it's a pretty good move. Technically, they have 10 years of paying a player nothing, hypothetically, if the 13th over pick is a great player.
John Lynch is doing a great job in San Fran.
Yeah. I hope we get Jerry Jeudy with that pick.
If he somehow, some way, I don't think he ever will, but if he ever ended up on the open market, I would hope as a Buccaneer fan, they'd try to bring him home. because he's so good. I mean, he watches the cap. He's not reckless with the cap, and he's actually a pretty good player evaluator himself. He's surrounded himself with some great player evaluators as well. I know it's not all him. He's probably hired a great scout team, and he's made good moves as far as coaching. I mean, you know, getting Shanahan, I think, was a good move. Some people might disagree with that, but I think that he's done a great job.
Teams should be doing now, in which they brought. If you ever in a scenario where you don't have a GM or head coach, you bring in a GM and head coach that mesh together.
Yeah.
Like you interview them together as a pairing and not, I think Washington did it. They just were like, oh, Ron Rivera. Didn't even think about GM. Think about GM later.
Yeah. That's how you end up with an Adam Gase situation in New York, where he comes in, he hates the GM, he throws him under the bus, and then all of a sudden now he's the coach of the GM, and you're like,
Bill O'Brien.
Oh boy, Bill O'Brien, he's really screwed up. I just don't. I think coaches should have input, but I don't know that they should be coach and GM unless your name is Belichick.
Yeah,
that's
Bill
about
Belichick.
it. Belichick, you could probably talk me into Bill Parcells. That's about it. And Parcells not a coach anymore. Anyway, so that's going to do it for DCD 73. Want to thank everyone, as always, for listening. A few things to get out of the way before we wrap up and get out of here. Number one, t-shirt link always in the description. If you buy one of those, it gets us $6. Patreon link also in the description. You go to patreon.com/DCD podcast. You can contribute for as little as $1 a month, get early access and all kinds of other perks. Head over there and check those all out. I want to give a huge thank you to all of our Patreon backers. We have Dumbest Sphinx in the Egg tier, Bobby in the Andy tier, and Jared and Daniel in the Gold tier. So thank you for backing the show. You guys are literally the reason we're able to host this on so many platforms, especially for the audio-only version. So thank you for that. And if you can't support us monetarily, that's cool. A couple things you can do that are free. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can leave us an iTunes review. And finally, tell a friend about the show. Just tell them, hey, I like this DCD podcast. Maybe you should check it out. That helps us out, and it costs absolutely nothing. Oh, yeah, go to deadchannelduo.com. You can find us on all the platforms that were available. We're on almost all of them, but you go to deadchannelduo.com. On the very top, you'll have a link to every platform. Andy, anything else before we get out of here, man?
Watch AEW every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central. TNT.
That's a great pro tip from your buddy Andy. So that's going to do it for DCD 73. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Ta-ta.